The debate over the legitimacy of the 2024 election is already underway, even before many of the ballots have been counted. As they did 4 years ago, conspiracy theorists are pushing unsubstantiated claims of widespread illegal voter registration and voting by non-citizens, along with unsubstantiated claims of election fraud. And tonight in our Prime Focus, we have a closer look at what the data actually shows, why certain groups are pushing these fears, and the impact it's having on some Americans caught in the middle. Here's our Devin Dwyer.
When we vote not just for ourselves, but the people that we represent.
Eliud Bonilla is as American as they come. Born in Brooklyn, New York, to Puerto Rican parents, he's now an engineer working on NASA's mission to reach the sun. He's been voting for decades, but in 2016, he was removed from the voter rolls as a non-citizen.
I remember trying to make small talk with the clerk about what happened, and she just, as a matter of fact, said, "Oh, this happens a lot."
And you got it fixed?
I was reinstated, and I voted without any issue. And I thought that was the end of it.
But the problem didn't end there. That administrative error in a state DMV file used to cross-check voter registrations landed Eliud on a list of suspected non-citizen voters obtained by a conservative watchdog group and published online. The Public Interest Legal Foundation's report, Alien Invasion 2, listed Eliud's personal information and implied he, along with hundreds of others, committed voter fraud.
My reaction there was, how dare you?
Just because you'd appeared on a registrar's list as a potential non-citizen, you were doxxed, essentially, right, as a fraud and a felon.
Yes, there's a report that has a copy of that form, with my name, with my phone number, email address, home address, stating that I am not a citizen.
What impact did that have on your family?
I became worried because of safety, because unfortunately, we've seen too many examples in this country that one person wants to right a perceived wrong and goes through an act of violence.
Eliud and several other voters whose personal information was exposed in that report sued the group, claiming a campaign of defamation and intimidation. The Public Interest Legal Foundation said in court the list was public record maintained by the state and that it had a First Amendment right to speak out. It later apologized to Eliud, revised portions of the report, and settled the suit. The group's president, J. Christian Adams, says the effort was all well-intentioned.
We know people are registering who are not citizens of the United States, and they're telling the registrar that they're not citizens before they get registered. That's a problem. Nobody should be in favor of this, and nobody should stand in the way of fixing it.
There are confirmed cases of non-citizens illegally registering in every election, but there is no evidence they cast ballots in significant numbers.
What they're doing is they're trying to sow distrust in our elections in order to set the stage for potential subversion.
A recent Pennsylvania audit found just 544 potential cases of non-citizen voting out of 93 million ballots cast over 18 years. The conservative Heritage Foundation identified fewer than 100 cases out of more than 1 billion ballots cast over a decade. And a Brennan Center study found just 30 cases of suspected non-citizen voting out of more than 23 million ballots in the 2016 election alone.
This is a vanishingly rare phenomenon. It is not happening at rates that are going to impact the outcome of our elections.
What some of your critics are alleging is that the work of groups like yours is amplifying a concern about a magnitude of a problem that doesn't exist.
This isn't about throwing an election. This is about having a system that works as best as we can.
States have multiple systems in place to catch ineligible voters, and non-citizens face serious potential penalties, including up to a year in prison, deportation, and denial of future immigration status.
Is there any concern, Christian, that your efforts could backfire, and that by forcing purges in some of these states that secretaries of state could remove otherwise eligible voters that conservatives need?
If you can find a single voter that has been removed improperly from one of our actions, then you win $1,000 of Omaha steaks from me personally.
The Justice Department says similar efforts around the country have had that exact impact. It sued Alabama last month for allegedly purging dozens of native-born and naturalized citizens from the state voter list, and a federal judge blocked the effort. And in Virginia, the same state that wrongly purged Eliud, the department is suing to block a plan to remove voters whose DMV records don't indicate U.S. citizenship. Still, Republican groups are keeping the pressure on, with at least 24 active lawsuits seeking to remove alleged non-citizens from voter rolls before November 5th.
They want to prevent non-citizens from voting. Is that a worthy goal?
Based on those words, that's worthy. My question is, if it's true, then why use lies to support that claim?
Eliud says he fully supports enforcement of the law, but that exaggerated claims of non-citizen voting do more harm than good.
They say, we are patriots. We love this country. We just want the system to be fair.
It's a thin line between patriotism and then letting your biases and prejudice kick in.
Do you plan to vote next month?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I told everyone, you have to vote. If you don't vote, you don't count. And I tell my Spanish-speaking friends the same. Si no votas, no cuentas. You have to vote.